Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
Damn! We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk glamour to you. You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Survivor Oz, Australia's #1 TV and film podcast, as we bring you the episode that you long for every 6 months. Although this time it's probably been a bit longer than 6 months. It's maybe been like at least 7 or 8 because we're a bit more delayed in bringing you the Ozcap for Survivor Season 32, the great epic season of Survivor Kaoh, Rong, and a lot to talk about as always on these Ozcaps because as we always generally say every 6 months, we did a lot of these in a row when we first started doing Survivor Oz, and now we generally do them after the season airs, and we're probably closer to season 33 airing right now than season 32 finishing, but we're late, so sue us anyway. It's a pleasure though to welcome back on the Ozcap a very lonely Ozcap today, because there's only 2 of us. I think this is the shortest we've ever had in terms of having people on. We've had 3 on before, but never quite 2. But who needs to have more than 2 when you have the best 2 around? That is because you've got myself and the only other person who has been on every single one of these. He's been on 31 Ozcaps. He's 32nd Ozcap. He's a man you know, talking about everything better than everything else, because it is a pleasure to welcome back to Survivor Oz, Noah Aubrey Bracco Groves. Noah, welcome back to Survivor Oz and an Ozcap.
Thanks for having me, and of course we should mention yourself, Ben, Julia Sokolokoluski Waterworth. Yeah, it's good to be back. It is just the 2 of us. Julian and Nick and Kristen were actually here, but they all got medevaced, so it's just the 2 of us. We've had to make adjustments, and we've had to vote someone out without them even having any time to strategize or anything like that. So it's all over the shop. Nook ate too much meat, too much sheep, lamb, so yeah, it's just the 2 of us.
Just the 2 of us. We should really have that as a sound effect. We're breaking a streak here. I'm sad. Julian has been on the last 4, but considering every single one of those 4, he says something naughty. We generally, yeah, we'll go with being medevaced. But I mean, I enjoy these Ozcaps. These are fun, and I hope that you, the listener, are finding these fun too, because we actually have had a few questions about when this will be, and here it is. We're doing it for you right now. Now you're listening to it. Stop asking.
Stop it, Zachary.
Before we get into our impressions and everything, the sound effect, we remember to kind of announce this at the beginning for once. We've really not done a whole lot when it comes to thinking about this one. It was either a chicken or the one that we went and decided with, and we decided to go with an ambulance. Yep, that's what an ambulance sounds like. And there's a bit of a buzzing in the background there. I think there was an ambulance filled with bees or something like that. So that's our sound effect for the 30-second Ozcap. Got that over and done with. Now let's get straight into it. The Wambulance. Didn't we have that for Panama? We've just recycled it. Damn it. First impressions of this season. What are your thoughts of this season? A couple of months digesting it, Mr. Groves.
I'm going to sound so grumpy on this show, and I'm not even meaning to be grumpy because I love Survivor.
I love Survivor.
I'm tired, alright? So it's going to make me sound even more grumpy than I am, but I'm really not grumpy. And if you listen to the Oztopsies with me and Colin, you would have had my opinions on it. So I'm actually more fascinated for this show to hear your opinions, Ben, because you kind of ditched it, I think it was 2 episodes in.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the episode right before the Caleb Medivac. Maybe it was that one. All I remember is I definitely did the Medivac episode with Colin because he told his fantastic story about how he got heat exhaustion on Canada Day one day. So
It gets hot in Canada?
He rode to a barbecue or something too fast or something.
Didn't laugh for Colin.
Trust me, I was laughing. But he turned out all right. So Dr. Peter helped him. Yeah, this season was so well received. Everyone loved the hell out of this season. And I just think it's just okay. And don't then come on here, oh no, I hate this season, blah, 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 like you always do. Whenever I say something is not awesome, that apparently means I hate it, which is not the case. It just means I think it's just okay. Like, if I had to rank it, because we haven't done the Ozcap, so we don't know where we would put it, but if I had to rank it, it would be in the teens, so it's in the middle third grouping of seasons. There's plenty of worse seasons, including one that happened 2 seasons ago, and maybe even one season ago.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know. But I didn't love it as much as most people did. I found myself not as invested week to week, and I just felt myself less and less players for me to root for, to win, or to go far. There wasn't really much interesting things going on towards the end. I will say that the pre-merge is one of the strongest pre-merge 6 episodes ever. Like, that's really good with the whole Alicia arc and the whole Caleb thing going on. And there was that great episode where Liz was voted out and Liz and Peter kind of went from top to bottom. You had the thing where Aubrey wrote Julia, crossed it out and did Peter. So it was a great pre-merge, but then it got to the merge and it started out okay, but it went on, and it was just slowly there was nothing that I was really invested in. And like that Joe Medivac episode, I'm sorry, that's one of the most boring episodes of Survivor ever. I just could not get into that. The winner we'll get to, one of the worst finales. It was just not a good finale. One of the worst reunion shows. Hello, Sia. And the cast, I'm so conflicted because people say it's one of the best casts ever. I'm so happy that we had more evened editing. Like, there wasn't really an invisible player this season, and everyone got a moment in the limelight. But then I look at the cast and Michelle, Julia, like, who else? Joe. I mean, I love Joe, but Joe, Neil, Nick, all of these players are just kind of just people I wasn't invested in. Caleb, Liz, Jenny to an extent, and they're all had their moment and were decent characters, but I just didn't really find myself that invested in any of them. And like, I mean, I liked Ty, but I don't think he was the big fan favourite that they were hoping he would be. Sydney I really liked. Jason was a good villain, but I didn't absolutely love him. Same with Scott. Like, I loved Debbie, I loved Peter, but even though it was a strong cast all around, I also felt that there was a lot of just meh characters amongst this group. So I like Kaoh Rong. If I was being honest, I'll probably rewatch Kaoh Rong before I watch Worlds Apart for a second time. But I don't think it's up there as like the top 5 season that people make it out to be.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to talk about this myself, because, yeah, I basically went on my little exile mission for however long it's been now.
Janewed it.
I Janewed it from, the second episode. So really, I haven't been on any episodes to talk about this, and I'm going to be absolutely honest and say that I really didn't listen to any of the episodes of the podcast I started throughout the season. So I'm
That's probably a good thing.
I'm blissfully unaware of
got a bit crazy.
A lot of your thoughts as well, and Colin's, and everybody else's. But I will say that this is probably the least invested in a season of Survivor I've ever been. Whether that's sort of combined with what was happening in my personal life and the season in general. I mean, I think it started off very well. I was enjoying it very early on, and then sort of as it kind of went on, I was very similar to you. there really wasn't anyone this season that I super was rooting for. I mean, I liked people in this season, but it just wasn't a case of like, oh, I really want them to win. And even on the flip side of that, there wasn't really anyone I disliked either. It was just kind of got to the point where the final few episodes, I was just kind of like, whatever. Like, you know, it's gonna end soon. It'll be interesting to see who wins. I guess with the winner, I wasn't expecting that. So that was kind of fascinating. Not that that necessarily was a good thing. We'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably with you when you say like you'd watch this over Worlds Apart. I generally like to watch them in order of the ones I haven't rewatched. Still haven't rewatched Worlds Apart, still haven't rewatched Cambodia, and obviously haven't rewatched Kaoh Rong. So I can almost see myself liking this a lot more on a rewatch, and I kind of feel this is a season that might, over the years, maintain a cultish following. I wasn't aware that it was that well received, as you mentioned, because again, I really haven't sort of paid a whole lot of attention to what happened throughout this season on social media and that as well, so that's kind of news to me that this was very well received, because I kind of am with you. I just think it's a season that's there, you know, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't brilliant. So yeah, this is definitely one I feel that my true opinion has to come from when I eventually rewatch it. So on Ozcap Rebooted, perhaps. Are we ever doing that? No. We will find out. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating, really, because I mean, again, we should really point out that this season was filmed before Cambodia, as most Survivor fans know, unless you're one of those dreaded casual fans. Which apparently, according to some ratings on iTunes, which I never knew existed, we are. Not that we already didn't know that, but anyway. But yeah, it's also a season as well that we should mention was Brains, Brawn, Beauty, which I even forgot for a few moments here until I reread the articles and I was like, oh, that's right, it was Brains, Brawn, Beauty. They brought that back pretty quickly. So I mean, it's really at this point we kind of quickly go over what this season was about, the twists and all that sort of jazz. As I said, it was Brains, Brawn, Beauty. Brought it back pretty promptly after season 28. 3 tribes season, clearly. Chan Lo was the brains, the blue tribe. Gondor was Beauty, the yellow tribe. And Tang, the brawn tribe, the red tribe. Totang. Oh, Totang. Why have I just said Tang? Oh, I've missed that. Clearly I paid attention to this season.
A powdered fruit drink?
Isn't that just what you do when you bang on the door? Ben, I think you need one of these. You need to get evacuated from ever doing these again. There's a reason why I haven't been on these for a while.
You've been gone for too long.
I've been go-gong for a while, apparently. Yeah, according to the twist here that I'm reading, thanks our good friends at Survivor Wiki, there was a hidden immunity idol. Ooh! But we should mention the key one with that is obviously the super idol that they use in this one, where they combine the two to basically make it a la Panama Cook Islands. They can play it after the votes, or to, save another player, all this sort of jazz. We had the one-time exile after the tribe switch. That obviously, Julia, wasn't it? Me. I was exiled before I went to a tribe. The extra vote came back into it. And the big key twist that I think was whispered about and then was obviously confirmed, and I don't know if we want to talk about these twists now or when we get to it. We generally go over the contestants, not really the order of the episodes. So the juror removal, where a castaway getting the power to eliminate a juror of their choice. We may as well talk about these now. What were your thoughts on kind of these twists? I mean, obviously we had Brains, Brawn, Beauty again, which really, I think most people have forgotten this was the theme of this season. And yeah, I guess the key one there really was the juror removal. That was the big one alongside the super idol.
Well, I've already forgotten that there was the extra vote, and once again that failed, and I don't know why they continue to persist with this twist that has never worked out. Obviously, this was filmed before Cambodia, but still enough with this extra vote thing. No one likes it. It doesn't work. Why do you keep bringing it back? Brains, Brawn, Beauty. I was kind of initially annoyed about that just because it was so lazy. I never had a huge problem with it because it's just whatever. They switch it up at 14 anyway, or in this case 13. But yeah, whatever. They could have come up with something better. Like, you only get 2 a year, so it seems stupid to just recycle a twist like that. But at the same time, it turned out so differently to the first one as well, just with like Braun going to tribal a lot and stuff like that. So it was different, but it never really needed a sequel. Like Blood versus Water, there's still so much you can do there. Brains versus Brawn versus Beauty is just kind of like, all right, whatever. I liked the Super Idol thing. I know a lot of people on this show didn't like it, but I liked it because it was never a guarantee like the Panama, Tony Idol and stuff like that, because you needed to have 2 people agreeing to it. And people say, people use this season as an example of how Survivor doesn't need idols, because they say, not a single idol was used in the season. And like, that's totally like a journalist, like selective reporting type thing, or taking quotes out of context. Yeah, who would associate with journalists or, ex-journalists, I guess. That wasn't meant as a dig. You can edit that out if you want. It's just, you can't use this as an example of a season that doesn't need idols and why Survivor doesn't need idols, because idols were such a big part of it, a big part of the story. And like Scott's boot, which was a really great exit, like that was one of the coolest bits of the season, is when Ty says, no, I'm not going to give you the idol for the Super Idol. So it really dominated a lot of it, and I think I really liked it. I'm not jumping up and down to see it again, but I think it created some cool drama and a great exit from Scott. So if they did bring it back, I wouldn't be too upset. I think it's a unique development in idols. And the jury elimination thing, like, whatever. Yeah, cool. Like, all right, get a move on. Like, they spent a whole challenge and a whole tribal with it. Like, I'm not hating on it. I'm just, like I said in our preview episode, it's such a redundant twist because the votes are always so much like 9-0-0 or 8-1-0 or like 7-2-0. The votes are never close. So, like, even if Neil was stayed on the jury, it still would have been a blowout, or not a blowout, but it still would have been an obvious win from Michelle. Like, it just seems like a redundant twist, but it created a funny moment with Neil getting angry at Michelle, but really it just took up so much time in what was already a bad finale. So, yeah, it was an experiment. Don't bring it back. It's just whatever.
Yeah, I really have nothing to add. Brains, Brawn, Beauty again. I completely honestly forgot that this was even the twist of this season, and I think, yeah, you're right, it didn't really need to be recycled. It's just, again, I mean, we're about to see that with the next season. They're just getting lazy on their twists now. Just, like, don't do a twist. It's that simple, CBS. You don't need to have a twist every season. Like, just have it as Survivor 33, people versus people. Like, that works. And yeah, I mean, I kind of like the Super Idol idea. I think that's a clever way of doing it to get people to work with the idols. But, I really don't have much else to add than what you said. So, yeah, clearly I definitely paid attention to this season as we went along. But I will say,
people are going to love this episode.
Absolutely. I miss the Ozcap. Yeah, they're finally here and they're kind of shit. It was filmed, as we said, this was filmed before Survivor Cambodia. So this was filmed March 30th to May 7th, 2015. So kind of similar to Caramoan in the fact that they had to wait nearly a year, basically, before they could even see it. Aired between February 17 and May 18, 2016. Filmed in Koh Rong, Cambodia. Just quickly, the location, Cambodia. I mean, it's almost, again, it was very generic in both seasons it was in, but kind of fizzled out, really, in a way, didn't it? I mean, I don't know if we're ever keen to see Cambodia come back again.
I don't need to see it back, but I'd rather 2 seasons in Cambodia than 5 and 6 in Samoa, so it's nice to have somewhere new.
True, good point. I think we're straight into the first person to talk about it. I'm just trying to think what else we talk about these. We do them every 6 months. Darnell, the first to go. So, Toe Tang. That's it, Ben. Toe Tang, not just Tang. The Brawns lost first. Darnell, now, I was happy that Darnell went first because he won me some money. But other than that, I like Darnell. It was sad to see him go. I mean, he had a bit of potential, didn't he?
Well, it's kind of sad because Darnell is the last, at this point, the last African-American male in Survivor history, and I'm including 33 and 34 because neither of them have an African-American male. Season 34 can't because season 33 doesn't. So, yeah, he's the last African-American male in Survivor, and it was a first boot. So who knows what season 35 will bring. I remember I predicted him going very far, and I like Darnell, but I've seen like these campaigns of like bring back Darnell and stuff like that.
Really?
I liked him, but I don't know if I'd go as far as starting a hashtag of bring back Darnell. But I think he was funny. Like he had the moment where he was like taking the dump in the water in front of everyone, and then like, brown trout. Oh, I'm just taking a dump. Like that was pretty funny. But yeah, ultimately his downfall was just challenge performance, and he was getting a bit too close to Sydney. But you know, you've probably done something wrong when Alicia stays instead of you. So I like Darnell. First Boot Club, I think he's a welcome member. If they ever did a pre-merge season, then maybe, bring back Darnell, but I'm not jumping up and down to see him anytime soon. But I thought he was a fun character, and I was kind of upset he went first.
I was surprised that he went first, because I think I was I thought he was just going to maybe be an early boot, middle ground, but I never thought he would go that early. But I forgot about the brown trout. That was funny. And yeah, the whole Alicia bits. Wow, this is really flooding back to me now. I really did pay attention to this season, but I didn't realise there was such a campaign to get him back on the show. I was wondering why I saw so many people walking around the streets with "Bring Back Darnell" t-shirts. I was like, what? What's going on there? So he got 4 confessionals in his one episode as well. Good on you, Darnell. And yeah, I don't really have much else to add on Darnell. He was first. So anyway. First boot, it's kind of easy to get confused in terms of who won and who was whatever. Shut up, Ben. Jennifer was next. I don't even really remember much about. I've looked at the go. She was next to go, so Toe Tang lost again, and Alicia once again was saved, and Jennifer Lanzetti was gone. I really don't have much to say about Jennifer because I am seriously looking at going, oh yeah, I kind of remember her. So this is bad. The most recent season, I'm struggling to remember people. Noah, Jennifer.
I liked Jenny, but again, I think people were devastated when she got voted out, but I was kind of like, yeah, she was okay. That worm in her ear was just, I'm not normally squirmish, but I was even squirmish with that. Close-up shot of a worm coming out of her ear. And she started off as a decent player, like she was trying to blindside Jason because he burped too much at camp or something like that. And she tried to get Alicia on her side. But that meltdown at Tribal Council is just one of the worst performances from any contestant ever when she's getting on that seat and don't vote me out!
That's right. I remember it now.
So, ultimately, I think it was a bad move on Scott and Jason. Well, it wasn't Scott. Scott voted for Alicia, but it was a bad move on the Majority Alliance to vote Jenny out over Alicia. And again, I reiterate, if you go out before Alicia, you know you've done something bad in the game. So I think that came back to bite them in the arse a bit, especially with the Sydney turn later on. So Jenny was a fun character, but second boot, classic second boot material. I think she was my pony, so I was annoyed that you got money and then mine went second.
That's right. Oh, it's all flooding back to me right now. This is hilarious. I'm reading the trivia. Oh god, I've missed Survivor Wiki trivia. Jennifer is the only castaway to ever stand up on one of the seats at Tribal Council and give a speech. Wow.
No, she's probably not.
Well, who knows? And apparently, her post-Survivor, Jennifer has an upcoming TV show titled Law and Order, which is set to air on HGTV. I don't even know what HGTV is.
I'll be getting HGTV, that's for sure.
It's based off a tweet she tweeted on the 6th of May. Look out, HGTV. Law and Order is here. Is your house hashtag Lanzetti ready? When I'm done, you'll have a hashtag Lanzetti lot. What?
I thought you meant the show was based on the tweet. I'm like, they're making TV shows based on tweets.
Oh, well, they can't come up with anything new now.
Jeez, I'll be tweeting all night tonight. Hopefully I get some sort of TV deal.
Maybe. Well, you never know.
Just farming in Snug. Hashtag Snug Life.
She got a total of 8 confessionals, which is interesting considering she got more confessionals than Caleb. So there you go.
And who's getting brought back?
Yes, spoiler. Yes, who's getting brought
I don't care.
no, it's just like, I don't care. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Miss Lanzetti. All right, moving on. This is easy with 2 people. Elizabeth Liz Markham. I remember Liz. She was one of my favourites. Chan Lo lost next. She was one of my... I thought she was going to go very deep. I had her at 3rd. I was very shocked that she went. And yeah, I was devastated when she went. Poor old Lizzie Liz. What was your take on Miss Markham?
I think most people were shocked. Not during the episode that she left, but I think a lot of people were shocked that she didn't make it to the end, because she got a big edit in episode 1, and then it kind of deteriorated after that. And she turned a bit whingy, Joe's putting pathogens in the water, and I just needed my water to be boiled. And then you got Joe and Debbie just, whatever. So she started off as kind of like the strategist. Like, people thought she'd be the new, maybe not Parvati, but, the new, like, slightly nerdy strategist, attractive female player. I'm not sure who you relate that to, but then she just kind of just went downhill with her and Peter wanting to control everything, and her complaining, and she really alienated people. So it's really her fault that she got voted out. But I do love her elimination, how it was a tie between Liz, Peter, and I think it was Neil. Aubrey then, maybe it was Aubrey. And then it went to a revote, but because Liz and Peter were tied, neither of them could vote. So it came down to kind of a Shirin versus Spencer thing, where they knew that one of them was going home, and like their big plan really backfired, and they had no power in deciding who ended up going home. So it was kind of a really good episode and a good elimination from Liz. If they did a second chance too, maybe they would bring her back, but I think there's another player coming up that would take that away from her. I don't need to see her again, but she did get a fairly big edit for her short time in the game, but I guess that's just this season.
I liked her. I'd see her again, easily. Hands down. Poor Liz. Robbed of...
I think you're Liz's biggest fan. I don't think she was that well received.
Am I her only fan, maybe? I'm not sure.
Maybe.
She got 10 confessionals. Yeah, she got a very heavy edit. And considering that Julia only got 16 for the entire season, so she was in a lot more episodes. So, yeah, there you go. Loz, as Nick would say. There you go. Speaking of Liz, this person really has nothing to do with Liz. Caleb, this was, of course, in the very dramatic episode where everyone was dying, basically. I still think they're laying out there at the moment. Perhaps there was a lot of the need for ambulances. Now, there was a lot of hype, I think, a little bit around Caleb, I guess, because he was Big Brother and social and all this kind of jazz, and I guess he's coming back. Spoiler alert. We really should have warned people. It's like somebody's like, oh, I will listen to Survivor because they won't spoil me. I don't need to know who's on season 34. And then it's like, oh, Noah. But yeah, it was a pretty was a pretty scary moment for just everybody in that challenge, because there was several people down, but for Caleb in general, clearly it was bad enough that he had to leave.
It was a really good episode of Survivor and really unique. It was like, I think 25 minutes just up to the reward challenge, and Debbie went down, Sydney went down, and then Caleb went major down, and like it was kind of a cool. Well, I wouldn't say cool, definitely not for Caleb, but it was really cool to see all the, like, they didn't care about showing cameras and that. I always like when we see cameras in Survivor for some reason, like the Worlds Apart reunion show and stuff like that. So it was cool to see, and you got Jeff in Action Man, role like, somebody get water and get a reflector, that will work as shade, and all this stuff. Like, Jeff was loving it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. I can boss people around in an emergency. So, yeah, it was a really good episode. If you want to hear me rage at Survivor fans, then that's probably the best one to listen to in terms of the autopsies, because
who doesn't
I
like
definitely
listening to you
let loose on
Survivor
stupid people. Some people are stupid. Let's just face it. I saw some really dumb things. I'm sorry. I saw some really dumb things that week. I'm not going to go through all of them again, but one of them being, they should have known how hot it was going to be that day. It was so irresponsible for them to run that challenge. Shut up. Come on, just shut up. The other one being, Peter is a doctor. He should have went and helped Caleb. Shut up. Come on. Firstly, he's a freaking surgeon. What's he gonna do? Cut him up? Play operation on him? Like, I'm sorry, I don't consider myself to be an intelligent person, but there are some dumb Survivor fans. I'm sorry. Both of those things were just ridiculous things to say. And if you're listening to that and you said one of those things, no apologies. That was stupid. Yeah, that week was interesting for the Oztopsy. You definitely missed a lot there. I'm sorry, but who says they were irresponsible, it was too hot, and that it was production's fault that Caleb got dehydrated? And who says that Peter Bagenstos is a horrible person for not helping Caleb in that emergency situation, ignoring the fact that Peter also participated in the challenge and was probably also feeling hot and staying in the shade, and that there was Survivor doctors there who were qualified for the situation. As for Caleb himself, I liked him more than I thought. In the pre-stuff, I'm like, oh no, this guy's ridiculous. But he seemed to be a nice guy, and I liked him. He seemed to have a decent grasp on the strategy. He seemed very well liked. So I was sad to see him go. That being said, this guy should not be brought back just because he got a bit hot. I'm sorry. Like, that is the only reason, is because he had a memorable exit. But if you actually look at it, there's nothing there that we saw that was actually warranted a return. Like, maybe he is the greatest character ever, but in the 4 episodes we saw, there was nothing to say, oh yes, this guy needs to return. So I can understand why they're bringing him back, but it pisses me off.
I, as soon as his episode was on, knew he was coming back, not because I knew any spoilers or anything like that.
They put it in the frickin' end.
The way they had that subtitle, you know, he wishes to return to the game. Well, no fucking shit, Sherlock. And it was like, yeah, the first time they'd ever done that. And it's like, oh god, that's not a massive hint. He's coming back soon, isn't he? Which I guess I missed the boat when you discussed that cast. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait a couple of seasons to talk about that. But I mean, he was okay. I liked his little Thai relationship going on there, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he seemed very nice. I mean, this is obviously like when the beauties were like, well, I remember actually being involved in those episodes because I was talking them up, how well they were doing. So, yeah, I think he had real potential to really go far. But, yeah, sadly he didn't. I mean, I kind of nothing him. He was there. He was good to watch, but I'm kind of like, there are other people I'd rather see come back that have been medevaced than Caleb. But, you know, it's fascinating, I guess. Apparently.
Who?
Caleb. Who?
There's other medivacs.
Oh, right. I thought you were like, who? Like, that's a bit mean to Caleb. Well, you know I'm going to say Colton again. They never bring him back again. Like, we know that. Oh, he quit twice. That's where Survivor fans are stupid. He didn't quit twice. Who? That's a good question. Gary Strateski. He's my man now. I had a beer with him.
Bruce Canigay.
I would love. I've had beverages with both of them. Bruce Canigay gave me a bottle of scotch. So,
Joe Dowdle.
oh yeah, why not? Good old Joe.
Put him in.
I'd honestly, like Bruce, seriousness, I'd rather see Bruce Canigay return than Caleb. Like, absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Courtney Moon. I'm being completely legit when I say I'd rather Courtney Moon come back.
Dana Lambert. Was that
Debatable, but I'd see her back.
Yeah, Jonathan Libby. That wasn't a medevac.
Was he medevac?
Sorry, I've got a list of 6 names I'm about to read out here, and he's on it. So, Caleb is the 6th person to never attend Tribal Council, preceded by Jonathan Libby, Wanda Shirk, Gary Strateski, Courtney Moon, and Dana Lambert. Now, this is a...
Oh, it makes sense why you just labelled all those people.
Exactly. I'm lazy, all right? I've become lazy in the last 6 months. This is... interesting one, although he said it in at the reunion show and in later interviews. It was revealed that Caleb had very little recognition of the moments leading up to his evacuation. He recalls finishing the reward challenge and collapsing. Really? The next thing that he remembers was waking up in the helicopter. This makes him the first castaway that was unconscious during the evacuation. Wow, I'm so glad. I've missed Survivor Wiki. He only had 6 confessionals. That's interesting. None in his boot episode. I mean, did you think when that episode was on that all 3 of them were going to get evacuated? Because, I mean, we knew how much they talked this up and the severity of this episode. I honestly thought that both Debbie and Alicia were going as well.
Debbie and Sydney.
Oh, her too.
No, not Debbie. I didn't, because they built her up so much. Maybe Sydney, like a double medivac, but I didn't think Debbie was going to be going.
All right. Well, I was clearly the only one there. So, speaking of Sydney, it's Alicia next, as I said before. This was a bit of a long time coming, wasn't it? I ended up really liking Alicia. Just like she was annoying as all hell in those first ones, but I don't know, you just got to the point where I almost felt sorry for her, even though she kind of brought on a bit of it herself. But I don't know. I just warmed to her, and I was kind of sad that she finally went home. I'd rather see Alicia come back and play again than Caleb. She's at least more entertaining and brought more to this season, I think. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But what was your take on Alicia?
Far out, she was a bad player. She's a fun character. I think I like her little mini story that she had going for 4 episodes. One of the most predictable boots ever, in that they didn't hide who was going home. And they even asked to have Tribal Council at the challenge. Which I'm glad she stood up for it and said, no, I want to go properly. I hated her so much in the first episode. I'm like, oh, why couldn't she be in the first boot? But then in the next few, I kind of turned around. I appreciated her for what she was as a character. I think she had some fun moments. I felt a bit bad for her when everyone turned against her and that, when she was just saying, come on, keep digging, guys. But at the same time, dumb Survivor fans, I talked about... This was a very controversial episode for me versus the Survivor fans.
Controversial season.
Well, you missed it. We actually made a new segment called Noah Gets Angry at the Fans that you missed out on weekly. I scrolled Twitter and Facebook to find things that made me mad.
Must have been a long episode.
Was she really bullied? I'm sorry, but anytime... I don't want to get into it, because we did get into it, but Jeff Probst tweeted, this is Scott and Jason, this is an example of how not to raise your children and stuff like that. Jeff was saying that, and it's they got so much hate, and to me it kind of made it like people were making it out, oh, poor little Alicia and stuff like that. and look at the big guys picking on her. But she was fighting back to them as well. I viewed it more as an argument back and forth than a bullying thing, just because it was 2 against 1. She was holding her own. So it's just classic example of like manufacturing this whole bully storyline when, yeah, they were really mean to her, but she also led on a lot of it, and she was instigating the fights in a lot of cases. So that was really controversial when it aired. And I do think Scott has been a bit of an arsehole on Twitter in regards to her, but she has too. I've seen some bad tweets from her as well. So it's a two-way street, really. I don't condone what Scott and Jason did, and I also don't condone what Alicia did. I think she did some bad things too. So that was a kind of dumb Survivor fan, dumb Jeff Probst type thing as well, I think.
Right. Okay. Hello to all our Survivor fans listening to Survivor Oz. It's always good to have you on board. Anyway.
I'm generalising, but there are some idiots.
Okay, good.
Including myself.
We then had the Switch came up about, so Gondal Fondle and Chan Lo were kept about. I remember Fondle Gondal, that was from the preview episode. And I was absolutely devastated for our next vote, because she was my winner's pick. I loved it a bit in all ways than one, and Anna went next. I was so sad, so devastated, still crying about it. I nearly got to meet her when I was in Calgary. I got all excited because she put out there that she was there for a poker tournament, and I was like, yes, I'm going to go, because the where she was meant to be at was literally like right next door to my hotel, and I misread it. She was actually there the next night when I had already left, so I was like, damn it. So I would have gone and played poker with Anna. That was always a dream, apparently. But I was sad. I thought she was easily going to win this game, and she didn't even make the merge. So, typical Ben Waterworth pick. Your take on Anna?
I liked her in the first episode, but after that, like her confessionals, we talked about in the Oztopsy, she was always yelling when she talked about things that were happening around the camp. It was really weird that she was always yelling in her confessionals. I liked her in the first episode. We talked her up in that first episode of, Jesus, this is the winner at it, because she got so much attention. She got more than Michelle did. But by the time this episode rolled around, I wasn't that upset that Anna went, mainly because if she didn't go, Peter would have gone. And Jeff talked her up afterwards, saying she's a perfect second chance candidate to come back, which kind of, well, why isn't she coming back for 34 if she's a perfect candidate? But I wouldn't be shocked if we saw her come back a la Kelly Wentworth. Do I need to see her back? Probably not. Was she a decent player for the time she was in? She was okay. She could... Any other season, she probably would have done better if she had better luck with the tribe swaps, but I think it was a good move to get her out, like Ty wanted to, or Scott wanted to, so that she didn't tell other people that they had idols. So, yeah, good move to get her out, and she was just decent, I guess.
I would much love to see her back. So I've already said that.
It's not away from the realms of possibility.
I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I remember those episodes I was on, I think, when we were talking about the beauties, and I mean, Michelle, we were kind of like, oh, she's the invisible one. She's not going to do anything with this, that, and everything else. But clearly...
How wrong we were.
How co-wrong we were. And yeah, it's very sad, very sad. But she ended up the game with only 10 confessionals, the same amount as Liz, actually. And I didn't mention Alicia had 15 before that. So, bye-bye, Anna. Poor Anna. She was the first beauty to be voted out, not falling on the ground and unconscious.
Can we just say how great it was when Alicia was making fire and she said we need to get the embryos going?
The embryos. She's still waiting for
them. It's been
them.
a while since we've had the dumb blonde character in Survivor, so like, when would have it been? Like Angie or something?
Oh, was she cookies? I guess.
Was Was she the last dumb blonde? And I don't mean they're actually dumb. I'm talking about an archetype. But
yeah, probably. I would say so. Yes. I can't think of anyone.
Jeffra was a blonde, but she didn't really fit. She was more of the country, sweet country girl.
Yeah.
Jacqueline.
No.
She's not.
Don't you say a bad word against Jacqueline. It was her birthday yesterday.
Was it? Oh, I missed her.
Happy
I would have had a
birthday,
party.
Jacqueline. Yeah, well, I did. Why weren't you there? She was there, and
I missed the Jacqueline party.
Can we just talk about Saman Del Sur again?
Why isn't John on season 30?
Oh, why isn't Jacqueline just on TV? Like, do we get freaking...
John and Jacqueline need a reality.
Why do we get Jennifer Lanzetti's Lawn and Order? Like, I want John and Jacqueline.
John Bish's Lawn.
I'd rather watch John and Jacqueline mow the lawns than Lawn and Order. Like,
oh, I would love that.
Peter Bagenstos. Oh, good old Pete. Oh, Barack Obama himself. He was next to go, last before the merge, and your winner's pick, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he was.
Yeah, whatever.
I liked Peter. He maybe wasn't as out there and everywhere as I thought he would be, but he was still very good. And again, personal story, to toot my own horn, nearly got to meet him in Minneapolis. He replied to my message when I asked to meet him a week after I'd left the city, saying he'd love to meet up, but I'd already left and was somewhere else. So, sorry, Peter. One day, if I ever return to Minneapolis, which I don't think anybody does who doesn't live there, but whatever. I liked him. I'm sad he went, and he had a lot of potential again, and I was, sad. Still am.
I loved Peter so much so that he was my favourite contestant on this season, and that's not an exaggeration. And part of it, I have to say, is an evil motivation for loving Peter, but I just got such a chuckle out of seeing the Survivor fans. Here's me getting angry at Survivor fans again, but seeing the outrage over Peter on social media was just hilarious, because the guy was a villain, but he really wasn't that bad of a guy at all. Like, I felt so bad for Peter. He went on this show, he got so much hate, and he seemed like such a genuine guy. And just the amount of hate he got, people say he's like a horrible human being and stuff. It was just hilarious seeing people on social media take this stupid TV show so seriously when it came to Peter, and like, oh, he shouldn't be a doctor and stuff like that, and I wouldn't have him as my doctor, and just some of these ridiculous things. It was quite funny, but I thought he was a brilliant character because he was such an arsehole in the edit, like, and as I keep saying, like, he seems like such a nice guy out of the show, and that he acknowledges his edit, but like, they just showed the worst of this guy. Like, I don't think they ever showed anything positive about him, except for maybe early on, but he was just so, like, always off doing funny stuff and turning on people, and just all his confessionals were hilarious. And he talked about Debbie, does she own 30 cats or 40 cats? It's probably 40 cats. And I was so devastated when he was voted out, and so angry at Aubrey, how she crossed the name out and wrote Peter's name down. And in the end, he turned out loyal. He was actually voting with the brains in the end. Like, they keep talking about how disloyal he was, but in the end, he did vote with them. So I was completely devastated. And we talked about how Alicia was a big character, and people thought the season would be lacking when she left, but it really wasn't. But we talked about how the merge really was lacking when Peter was voted out. And that you needed that wild card in the season like Abby Maria, and Peter was that wild card character, and I just found him such a hilarious character, and he was on the rumoured list for season 34, and I remember I messaged Colin straight away, and I'm like, look who's on the list, it's Peter! So yeah, I'm probably the only and also the biggest Peter Bagenstos fan, but I'm officially now opening the Peter Bagenstos fan club, and I will gladly be the president, not Barack Obama. I can't say enough good things about him. I haven't rewatched the season, but sometimes I go back and I just watch the Peter confessionals, because he is really, I'm not even joking you when I say he's one of my favourite survivors. Part of it is an ironic way, just because of how ridiculous his edit was, but I think he's a misunderstood guy, and I really hope we get to have an interview with him. And I was devastated he wasn't talked to at the reunion show. And he just seems so humble, and I feel bad for him.
Hipster Noah going against the Survivor fans once again. Like, oh, he's so hated, but I fucking love him. He's great. Well,
The hate was unnecessary.
Here's a statistic for you can bring up to him the next time you're in Minneapolis. At every tribal council Peter attended, there were 6 castaways who were present, and he voted against a woman who cast her vote against him in return. Oh, that's something. That's a huge one. Love it. Thank you, Survivor Wiki. He's the only male member of the original Chan Lo to not be medically evacuated. Well, that's kind of semi-interesting. Post-Survivor, after being voted out, Peter was flown back to the USA. I wonder if he's ever been there before he got flown back there. To get surgery on an infection on his hand and his back. That's nice. I hope he did it himself. Perhaps, I don't know, he's a surgeon, not a doctor. Well, a doctor is a surgeon. A surgeon is a doctor, but you know what I mean.
What are you talking about?
You know what I mean. Not the type that fixes...
And how dare he not help Caleb?
What a bastard Peter is. Like, just help him.
I would never have him as my doctor.
17.
Do you think there's any chance we could ever see him back again?
I think
Probably
so.
not.
I mean, come on. We're seeing some of the people we're seeing come back on 34. This is a chance for everyone.
Yeah, but the next returning would, at minimum, is probably 36. So the time's probably
Oh, who knows? It probably will be 35 at this rate. So, like, no, look, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I guess we kind of thought that Samoan Del Sur people would never be brought back because it wasn't like the best sort of season, and one of them went on to win a second chance season, literally. So yeah, I think there's a
Hashtag bring back Peter.
Exactly. Next person to go, the merge came and all that sort of jazz. The merge tribe was called Dara, which again, we're kind of like in this process of never actually hearing the tribe name, isn't it? Like, you know, except on the screen. So,
But why did they name the tribe after someone from Pearl Islands? It's just
Dara. Because they were huge fans of hers, alright? Like, every tribe should be renamed after a mortician from Pearl Islands. Like, why not?
or Stace.
Skinny Ryan.
T. Joanna.
Rupert. I have a tribe named after me now.
Lil.
Yes, absolutely. The come on in, Lil Morris tribe. Make sure that you... Lil Morris with immunity. The tribe, not the person.
Bring back Lil.
Bring back Lil. How do we get
I think
Lil
I'm
Morris?
Lil's biggest fan as well. Why do I love these
You're Lil
random
Morris's
drivers that
only
people hate?
fan. We established this on the Rankings podcast.
Yeah. Lil and Peter, you're welcome at my house in Snug anytime.
Wow, somebody is. I've never been. I've seen the outside of it, but anyway, Neil Gottlieb. I went over this in the preview. I don't know his name. He was evacuated. Sadly, was Neil. What was his infection? Wasn't it something really weird? Was it his back? Did he have something on his back, or am I thinking of someone else?
There was something on his back.
Yeah,
he had like 3 different ones, I think, didn't he?
Well, I mean, I remember when
he had Mount St. Neil.
I remember when James got evacuated in Micronesia. I was like, that's like the weakest way to go, an infection on your finger. But I think this takes the cake, like a giant scab on his back, essentially, and he's been evacuated. Like, think about all like the evacuees coming together for a reunion. Like, oh yeah, I'm Mike Scoop and I fell in the fire. You know, I'm Russell Swan. I like collapsed and nearly died. Oh yes, I'm Neil Gottlieb. I had a scab on my back. It doesn't.
Well, I don't know. I think Shamar takes the cake.
Oh,
there.
true. Something in his eye or something, wasn't it?
I had a bit of sand in my eye.
Yes. Well, I think if you listen to the Shamar interview, you find out there's a little bit more than that was. Perhaps there was with Neil as well.
Was there? Was there really?
I
listened to the Shamar.
Don't bag out Shamar. You shit on the fans, not Shamar. You'll make a protest video about it. Like, stop.
I feel like it's a dangerous move to make enemies with Shamar.
I really enjoyed that interview. I like Shamar. Leave it alone. I don't know why. Why are we bringing up other contestants and not talking about the ones on this season?
Well, it probably reflects my opinion on Neil.
Shamar tribe beats the Lil Morris tribe. Neil, yes, what's your opinions on Neil?
Not much. I know he's got a cult fan base, and I wanted to love Neil, like Ice Cream Pants and all, but I found him so boring, if I'm being frank. Like, I love that he was a fan of the show, and he took it so hard when he had to leave, and when he had to leave the jury. Like, he had a really rough run on Survivor, I feel. And I feel like, had he not been medevaced, he probably would have got more airtime, but they didn't want to show much of him because didn't want to get attached to him too much. But I just never found him too much of an interesting character for what the preseason hyped up of this, like, dandy in Ice Cream Pants. It was really, yeah, he wasn't as dandy as he made out to be, let's put it that way. And, like, I remember saying in the Ozcap, like, the hidden immunity idols. You got Jason. Yeah, that's great. The production team, we're loving it. We've got Jason has an idol. That's really good. Ty. Oh, Ty's got an idol. Yes, that's going to be amazing going forward. Oh, Neil found the idol. And then 2 weeks later, he's gone. So, but Neil really had a rough run in Survivor. Like, he went to 1 tribal council, then he was medevaced with an idol in his pocket, then he got voted out of the jury. So I totally sympathise with him, but I'm not in the cult fan club of Neil. I didn't find him too much of an interesting personality, if I'm just being frank.
He was there. I kind of liked him. He was all right. He reminds me a lot of our Ocelot Paul. Can I just point that out? And
Eurovision's France's entry.
Yes, everyone remembers that one. But yeah, look, you know, I think you sum it up very well. He did have a very rough ride. I have to laugh again at Survivor Wiki. Neil is the 4th person to be evacuated and become a member of the jury, following Bruce Canegai, James Clement, and Eric Reichenbach. Unlike the other 3, he was removed from the jury before the final tribal council. Like, couldn't you make that? Neil was one of 370 contestants in the history of Survivor, or 400 and whatever. Unlike the other 400 and whatever, he was removed from the jury before the...
Well, whereas Neil is the 2nd ice cream scooper to appear.
Neil is the 18th person to have a twin. You know... Come on. Captain Obvious pants there much. Next, I was devastated. I talked this guy up pre-season, and I remember I think even you came around on him, Nick Mariano, Rob's brother. Not really. He's not Mariano, it's pronounced something differently. But I love Nick pre-game. I was the only one I remember in that preview episode who liked Nick. And then, yeah, you came around, I think, from memory. Other people came around. He turned into a great character, I felt, even when we actually saw him, I guess. But, yeah, I was sad that he went, and he became the first jury member, at least. The second one, technically. I don't know why I said the first. He was the second. But yes, Nick. Shut up, Ben. What do you think about Nick, Noah?
I was ecstatic that he got voted out.
I thought you liked him.
I did come around for the first episode when he was on the boat, and I'm better looking than most people and stuff like that. Then he went invisible and just was nothing. And then when we finally saw him, it was a weird edit. He went from nothing to a lot to being voted out. So it was strange that they just showed nothing of him. Then suddenly he was the biggest character of the season. But I just found him boring, and I found everything he did was so forced. He talked about being a pretty woman and stuff like that. And it was just, all these confessionals seemed super forced. And I don't know, I didn't love it. I think he thought he was a better player than he really was. And I just didn't like how he didn't see anything. Then we saw a lot of him. Some of his stuff was kind of funny, if I'm being honest. There were some moments where I thought he was good on the show. I liked the basketball thing, but that was more of a funny thing from Debbie's point of view than Nick's. So, yeah, there's this kind of thing of like, we need to bring back Nick as well. And Nick does not scream returning player to me. So, no, you don't bring back Nick. You bring back Nick Stanberry.
Nick Brown.
Or Nick Brown. Jeez, the Nicks on Survivor are just amazing, aren't they? Yeah, I didn't love Nick Majorano. Wasn't sad to see him go, unfortunately.
I was. Still
I
am.
wonder if he'll go back to blogging about Survivor. That would be interesting.
Well, he might. You never know. Maybe he already is, and we just don't know. Yeah, I don't really have any interesting trivia. Except Nick and Michelle currently hold the record for surviving the most days without attending a tribal council.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty good one.
That is, I guess, one. So there you go. Confessional-wise, yeah, he got 11 in episode 7.
That was so random.
Which, outside of the finale, and the second last episode, is the most out of anyone. So, decent. 27 in total he got. So, that ended up being more than Joe got. And I didn't go over, so Neil got 16 and Peter got 17, so fairly decent there for them. Next to go, this was sad. Debbie. Oh, what happened here? Are we going to say it the star of the season? I think we've got to say it star of the season.
I would put her up there.
Easily. We talked her up pre-season as the female coach. She became the female coach / Philip Shepherd. Her constant job titles on the screen. I was a model, or I went around water, only to be promptly told a day later that she was arrested for fiddling with water. This woman is amazing. This woman is awesome. I don't know much about the Survivor fans this season, but if you don't like Debbie, you're an idiot. Yeah, I mean, she actually was fairly decent at the game. We should really say that. She had her moments. She wasn't exactly completely...
She was okay.
She wasn't completely dumb. She had her moments. But, yeah, I gotta love Debbie, right? What more can we say about her?
Yeah, she's my second favourite of the season. I was devastated when this happened. I was actually watching this episode in the uni... on a uni computer in the silent area of the library, and I was so hard to actually stay silent during that moment when Debbie was voted out, because I just wanted to scream. I think she was the star of the season. I think there's some people who are like, she's alright. I think Rossi said she shouldn't have been on season 34 or something like that.
Get off it, Rossi!
Yeah. Well, what are you smoking? She was so funny. I loved all of her confessionals, and she was just so ridiculous. And I do think she was playing a bit of a character and playing up to the cameras, knowing what gets airtime. But I also do think this is a big part of what Debbie is. She's not lying as well. People found her model pictures and stuff like that, and she was just so funny. And I criticised this move to get rid of her so much. And ultimately, in the end, I think it probably was a bad move for Aubrey and Joe to get rid of Debbie at this point. Because she was loyal to them, even though she was very stubborn. But I just loved everything she said. And, she was just psycho at some points. And, oh, yes, I've spent 30 years training on water and stuff like that. And, we need to move, Joe. We need to move for a purpose, and all this stuff. That she was just so ridiculous, but hilarious. And this was probably the most Peter maybe, but after Debbie left, this is where I kind of lost investment, because I wasn't shy in saying that I wasn't an Aubrey fan. Ty was okay. Sydney was pretty good. Joe was just a nothing factor. Jason and Scott, that's when they had their little meltdown. And Julia, meh. So I think this is the turning point for me, where I kind of started to lose a lot of interest in the season. But Debbie, I am so happy they're bringing her back. She should be a 4-time returnee. I would watch Debbie on every season. She's definitely up there in the fan club. I do think she has some haters, but how can you hate Debbie? She's amazing.
If you hate Debbie, you're not human. I actually watched this episode on a plane. I was flying from not meeting Peter in Minneapolis to Seattle. So I kind of had fond memories. The episode before I was in I can always just picture these episodes now because I was in America and Canada. And this was, I remember at Reality Rally, everybody was talking about Debbie. People ask, Ben, what do you think of this season? What do you think of this season? And Debbie. So, yeah, fond memories, I guess, from that one. So yeah, that was decent. But yeah, I'm glad.
I watched her appearance on The Bold and the Beautiful.
I haven't seen that yet. Was it better than Malcolm's, or wasn't Joe and Jeremy in a bar or something in one of those episodes?
Oh my god! Yeah, she tops those two, those three, because she's an actor too.
So come season 34, when I was an actor, actor question mark. But
well, they do play up to it. She's like this caterer or something, and she's like, yes, but I also was a juggler. And then she starts taking model photos, and she takes a selfie and says, I'm a photographer as well.
I think I really need to see this episode.
She was the star, let's face it.
26 confessionals. I thought she would have gotten more than that. Well, there you go. Any interesting trivia? Well, here you go, Noah. She's set to appear on an episode of The Bold and the Beautiful.
Jeez, come on, out of date.
Some of her subtitles for her job were chemist, civil air patrol captain, electronics expert, waitress, and part-time model. What didn't she have like a quote, like a really over-the-top quote about like going on? I can't even remember what it was. There was one that was like really popular at the time. God, and she had a hashtag.
How
crazy was it?
How?
No.
What was it? It was.
How many cats? Or
meow.
Something? Or meow? Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Oh my god!
God, we love this season.
How good was it though when she had the confessional about the part-time model, and then it changed down the bottom of the screen and came up and said part-time model mid-confessional. That was really good.
Survivor editors doing their bit. Good on you, CBS. We're really pumping through this episode. Can I just point out we haven't had an Ozcap under 3 hours since actually Cambodia was dead on 3 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. How's that for editing? But Blood vs. Water, 2 hours 24. I think we're going to go back to our Nicaragua one or Philippines at hour 53. We might be less than that. How did we do Heroes Villains in an hour and 44 minutes? When we did Worlds Apart in 3 when we did Worlds Apart in 3 hours, and we did San Juan del Sur in 3 hours and 50 minutes, yet Heroes vs Villains in an hour and 44 minutes. Go figure. Okay, that's because it's an awesome season and you should like San Juan del Sur. Where are we up to? We're up to Scotty Too Hottie. This was a big vote, wasn't it? This was kind of a shocker because of how it all went down. He was the 4th jury member. Yes, he was, if I'm doing that correctly. And of course, obviously, this came about with the whole agreement between himself, Ty, and Kyle, the super idol. And Ty didn't.
Kyle?
What's his name? Kyle? Bloody
Jason.
Scott? Jason? Bob? Sam? Nick Stanbury? I'm reading off a list. Leave me alone. But yeah, Ty didn't obviously give him the other half of the Super Idol, so it was bye-bye Scott. I liked Scott. He kind of surprised me because professional athlete-wise, he was a lot better than I was anticipating, and I guess he made it a lot further than I was anticipating, and for a large portion of the game, it clearly looked as though Scott, Ty, and Jason were going to be very hard to get rid of because they were the dominant alliance, even though they weren't sort of the numbers. But yeah, it was a shocking episode. I guess it was good maybe for the season that they went because it was looking like it was going to be quite obvious for a while. But yeah, what was your take on Scott going?
I think he was an interesting one because he was like the first professional athlete to really just say it off the bat, yeah, I played in the NBA. Like Cliff kind of did, but he had to have Wu pointed out first. And I think that worked out for him. And I was impressed with him for a lot of the game. He seemed very level-headed. I think he may have even made it to the top of my power rankings a couple of weeks. But I was just so put off with when the numbers fell apart from them and they started pouring out water onto the fire and stuff like that. That was just... I like a good villain, but that was a bit much for me and just a bit cringeworthy, I thought. And then I loved when the rest of them, Michelle and Sydney, that's all right, we'll just do this. And they just got so frustrated with the girls were just not reacting to them being arseholes at all. And it made a great moment where Ty got up in the middle of the night and put out the fire, and Ty had the whole like turning to the dark side, Anakin type thing going on there. So this was a good episode all around, I think. And yeah, just the fact that Ty didn't give him the idol created such an epic moment, but also solidified Ty's role as an ultimate GOAT, I think. Completely blowing 2 jury votes in one go. But, like, I think that's a better use of the Super Idol of having this moment, which was pretty shocking. Maybe not, like, I think a lot of people saw that maybe that would happen, but it was still a shocking moment, even if you saw it coming. But I think that's probably a better way that the Super Idol could have been used than if they just used it normally and went along their way, because it created such an interesting and unique blindside. So I think Scott was an important part of this season. He wasn't one of my favourites, not one of my least favourites. He contributed, he was interesting. He was a good villain. So all around, I think he was a good addition to the season. One of the better professional athletes, I think. My favourite is still probably Jeff Kent, but Scott's up there. I don't love him, but he was good.
Second tallest contestant ever. I think we talked about in the preview on here, but he's had a son, had one in April, at April 29th. I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. Isian Pollard, perhaps, April 29th, 2016. Congratulations there, Scott. And lost 46 pounds during his time on Kaoh, because I wanted to know that. Good on you, Scott.
Do you think they'll bring him back?
Yeah, I can see him come back, for sure. I mean, I'm really come around to Jeff Kent with you talking him up and rewatching it, but I think he's probably going to be brought back before Jeff Kent, sadly. Is Brad Culpepper the first professional athlete to be brought back, besides Ethan, if you technically? I mean, he was a professional soccer player, so...
Well, there we go, Ethan.
With Brad and Ethan. Okay, cool, right.
Gary? No.
Gary?
Grant? No.
I'm talking about ones that actually have been brought back.
Yeah, I'm just going through them all.
I missed the one where Grant got brought back. I must have skipped that season. Scott at 30.
I skipped that too. 36
confessionals. Good for you, Scott. All right, next to go, Julia Sokolowski, or as Noah says, blah 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 blah. Yeah, Julia was there. She was on Survivor. That was about it. When we saw her, she was okay. I liked Julia. There was nothing bad against her at all, I guess. But she really turned out to be the Purple Kelly of this season, I guess you would say.
There was this thing going on, and I'm probably guilty of saying it as well if you went back to the Ozcaps, but there was this whole thing of, oh yeah, for her age, she's really good for her age and that. She's only like a year or two younger than heaps of other contestants as well. Like, just because she's the youngest ever doesn't mean that she's youngest by a margin. There's plenty of other contestants, and no one says for those other 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. Like, who said for Baylor, oh yeah, for your age? Like, they're not that far apart. So it was kind of this funny thing that people kept saying, like, is that like a backhanded compliment? Like, yeah, for your age, you're quite good.
Would they say that about a young male? Can I just point that out? They probably wouldn't say that, you know?
Well, they wouldn't. They haven't said it about anyone except for her. Yes, she's the youngest, but other people were young too in Survivor. I'm trying to think of a younger male. Like, I know Spencer's young, but there must be someone younger than that, isn't there? Oh yeah, Brandon. I don't think anyone's saying, Brandon, for your age, you're pretty good. And the other thing was, yes, she was trying to play the game, but people act like she was like this amazing, like, oh my god, Julia, she's really good for her age. But like, she was so transparent in the game. She was trying to work with Scott. She made the decision to flip to the minority, and she's pretty much responsible for her own vote out, really. She didn't need to flip there, and she was trying to play both sides, but everyone could see what she was doing. And when she wasn't doing that, she was just an invisible character. So while she seemed like a really nice person, and I've heard people say, bring back Julia. That's a campaign as well. No, I'm just trying to be honest here. Like, we could tippy-toe around it, but I really think her game was not that strong. It was very transparent, and when she wasn't that, she was just a purple character who really didn't add much to the season at all. So I wasn't upset to see her go at all, unfortunately. I prefer Anna out of the three beauty girls, even though I'm not a huge Anna fan. I think she was the best.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we saw this leaked cast like a year and a bit ago, we were all both Julia fans, but yeah, she disappointed. And like, they say about her age, like, I forgot within an episode or two that she was, like 18, 19? I mean, she's a lot more mature, I thought, than that. Not saying.
Well, she did do some good things. Like, she did lie about her age, and she wasn't all bad, but I just don't think she was as good as a lot of people make out.
Now, here is a very, very interesting trivia. We like to rip shit into Survivor Wiki, but this one's actually might be a record that might ever not get broken. Julia was voted out on day 29, which was April 27, 2015. Julia's Boot episode aired on April 27, 2016. Exactly 1 year later, Julia is the only contestant with this distinction. Now, that's kind of cool. Yep.
Guess so.
I'm the only one who thinks that.
I mean, it could be broken. Don't they film... No, it probably won't be broken.
Yeah, anyway, there you go. Good on you, Julia. That's when we get you on the show.
She'll be putting that on her mantelpiece.
You will love that statistic, I'm sure. Yeah, only 16 confessionals.
When you get an interview with her, make sure you let her know
I
that.
will. I'm sure that, a lot of people will remind me of that. Zachary Chong. Ben, remember when you said this? Hello, Zachary. We love you. Well, Kyle, Noah doesn't, because he hates all fans of Survivor, apparently. Kyle Jason went next. Jason. Why did they put it? We never found out why they called him Jason or whatever it was. Weren't we confused about his name?
There was no explanation to it. It was just first episode. He's Jason,
and we were calling him Kyle. But yeah, he was a lot more devious, I guess, than I ever gave him credit for. I mean, I guess he's a bounty hunter, but I liked him. I found him a fun character, and he was, fighting hard once he was still there by himself, and, enjoyable. Easily a returning player. I could see him come back as.
I think
very active out there in the fan community, going to a lot of charity events, social media-wise. And I definitely think he's fitting very well into this sort of Survivor community now. And again, I like him. Good old Jason. Sad to see him go. I think really at that point, he was really my main favourite person at that point. And yeah, I'm still sad to see him go. I'm saying that a lot this episode, apparently. I'm sad. All right, get over it.
I think out of all the ones that aren't being brought back for 34, I think Jason has the best chance of returning out of all of these players. As in the fifth Kaoh person to return.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. The Darnell campaign will kick off, no doubt, soon.
Yeah, it depends how strong the Darnellas are. Although Sydney might be up there. Sydney could be also up there. Both of them I'd put probably equal footy. Jeff even said that he tweeted saying he wants Sydney back, which is a rare thing for Jeff to do. Of the Jason-Scott duo, I prefer Jason. I thought they were both decent, but I think Jason was probably the better character. There were times when he was a bit of an arsehole, but I think he seemed to be having fun with the game, and I thought he was a fun character. He wasn't the all-time greatest player, definitely some jury management things going on there that he needs to work on. But he was a strategist. He was playing hard. He was over the top. I think he's kind of a casting dream. He was a good villain and a fun villain. He wasn't really nasty to people other than Alicia. He was a villain, but it wasn't like he was being really mean to every single person on the tribe or anything like that. He gave funny confessionals, I thought. So I'm a Jason fan. And at this point, I was really rooting for him to stay. Maybe that's just because he was the underdog and I didn't really have anyone else to root for. But I was kind of sad when he was voted out. And especially as Joe got medevaced next anyway, it was kind of even more of a kick that, well, if Joe was going to get medevaced, then Jason may as well have just been here. So I think we will see him again. That being said, I thought for sure that we would see Rodney by now.
Yes.
And he hasn't come back, so maybe we won't see Jason again. But yeah, not the best of players, but also not the worst. He tried some stuff, and he was a fun character. So if they did bring him back, I wouldn't have any issues with it. And if they don't, then I don't have any issues with that too, because on a rewatch, I'm sure I'll appreciate him just as much. I thought he was a fun villain.
Wasn't aware of this bit. He was hospitalised after being voted out because of an infection on his foot that he kept hidden from production.
Wasn't everyone?
Due to fear of being evacuated from the game like Neil. So, there you go, sneaky little bastard. He got a total of 44 confessionals. So, clearly a big edit for Jason. Not Jason, Jason.
Oh, Jason's was average.
Yeah, it was there. Joe Del Campo, third person to be evacuated. I liked Joe. Joe turned out to be so much better than I think we all predicted. A 72-year-old playing this game. We never thought we'd see someone of that age play Survivor again. I mean, not that he comes across as 72. I mean, God, he's fitter and more attractive and better body than I am. And I'm like, not even half his age. But yeah, I think it was such a sad way to see him go. And it kind of always makes me question, like, given he was evacuated, had he not been evacuated, would he have made the end? Would his edit been a lot better? I mean, I don't know. I think it probably would have been Noah. But yeah, sad to see Joe go.
I don't think his edit would have been better, but I also don't think Michelle would have won. But I think if he didn't get medevac, he would have been a third place. Maybe he would have got votes because the respect votes, like Rudy. If he did get votes, then maybe his edit would have been different. I liked Joe, but at the same time, I love that they brought a 72-year-old back, and he was just amazing for his age. What about that challenge? The ultimate comeback, the turtle and the hare. Yep. Remember when he was so slow that he won the challenge?
Yep.
That was amazing. I loved that. That was the highlight of Joe's time on Survivor, where being so old and so slow was what helped him win. And you could see Jeff always respected him. How many times in immunity challenges was he, pick it up, woman, you're so far behind. But with Joe, he was always saying, Joe doing a great job and all that, even if he was way far behind. So Jeff respected him. At the same time, just because Joe is this awesome Rambo 72-year-old guy, I don't think we automatically have to say he's an amazing character, because he really wasn't. He was quite boring and we never saw him. I mean, I wanted to see him. I was annoyed that they didn't show him more. But other than the time he got angry at Peter and was all stealth, and when he won the challenge, I just couldn't get into Joe really at all. He was destined to just be a goat, or I don't know if he would have got votes or not. And we talked about dumb ways to get medevaced. Eating too much meat is also a pretty dumb way to get medevaced. I think that's up there with Shamar, I think.
True. Well, he couldn't pee, so that was his thing at the end, wasn't it?
But that's what the sweet irony of that is. Wasn't that the challenge he won? That reward. So if he wasn't so old and so slow and didn't win the challenge, then he wouldn't have got medevaced to begin with, unless they brought him with him. But
possibly. It's
kind of a bit of irony that him winning was what made him lose.
21 confessionals for Joe. That's decent. Good on you, Joe. He was the one who came up with Dara. It says here he came up with the merged tribe name. Cool. And he's the very first person to ever be eliminated on day 34. Something that he will long remember.
Is he the fittest 72-year-old ever?
Oh, well, out of all the 72-year-olds I met, yes. So, don't know about ever. I've not known every single 72-year-old who ever lived, but perhaps.
I have.
Good.
I have, and he's top 3.
Top 3. Next we go on to Sydney, who I think turned out again a lot different and a lot better than I thought I anticipated she would be, and a lot of people. And she was a lot better at the game too than a lot of people gave her credit for, I think, coming into it. And I warmed to Sydney coming into getting towards the end of the game, and I was sad that she went when she went. But yeah, no, Sydney. I think you're a bit of a Sydney fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I thought Sydney was great. And I'm actually going to go out and say that Sydney was the best player of this season.
Whoa.
I don't think it was Aubrey or Michelle. I think it was Sydney. if we're looking at all round, like looking at everything, all around player, not just who won the votes at the end. Because I definitely got into that debate with Michelle. Well, not with Michelle, she wasn't talking to me, but about Michelle. She played a really strong game. She made connections and relationships. She was really strong at the challenges. She had the strategy. She hid that she went to the good school, and she kind of played up the poor girl type thing, and that she was unintelligent when she really wasn't unintelligent. So she ended up having a tight relationship with Aubrey, which got her that far. The only thing that would have put her down a bit had she made the end was when she turned on Scott and Jason, that they were quite bitter about that may have lost the game for her. But I do think if she got to the end, she had a good chance of winning. And I would love to see Sydney again, because not only was she a good player, I think she was a great character. She had some really funny confessionals and moments in the camp. I loved it when she was wearing like the rice pot as her hat, or the rice whatever it was. So I really, really did like Sydney, and at this point she was pretty much the only thing I was rooting for left in this season, so I was sad that she went out fourth. Would have loved to have seen a Sydney win, and Jeff wants to see her back, so let's bring her back.
Because this was the point where they kind of were talking it up, wasn't it? It was almost looking like it was to be a final two, right, from memory, because we had the next challenge on the day for the jury vote, which turned out to just be a reward the day before the final tribal, because Sydney is the first person to be the last voted out of a season and not be voted out the day before final tribal council. So that's a strange but interesting stat, I guess. But yeah, okay, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I like Sydney. I'd see you back, absolutely. And yeah, Jeff fan, that's good. Jeff not often a fan of women, so good for you, Jeff. But this is a kind of interesting stat. She is the third castaway ever to successfully vote out all of her original tribe mates during a season. Now, could you possibly tell me who the other two are?
Wait, she's the third to do that.
She's the third to successfully vote out all of her original tribe mates in one season. Could you hedge a guess at the other two?
Stapley.
Correct, yes.
Let me have a couple guess if I don't get it.
Do you want me to give you
Stephanie
clues?
LaGrossa?
No, I'll say it's from a post-Heroes vs. Villains season.
Well, it would have to be a 3-tribe one. Is it?
No, it is not a 3-tribe one.
It can't be Cass. All right, let me just think. You're pressuring me here, Ben.
Sorry, Noah.
Is it someone from this season? No, it can't be.
It is a pre-Worlds Apart season.
Did Jacqueline vote out? No, that can't be
He
right.
was on a season with returning players and would become a returning player himself.
To
which he would win his returning season.
Cochrane?
Yes,
What?
Cochrane.
No.
Cochrane in South Pacific. That was him. Yep. Good old cocky boy.
Cochrane and Caramoan voted out all his original tribe. Oh, Cochrane in South Pacific.
Yes, your favourite season.
Yeah, but Aussie came back, and Aussie's final place.
Blame Survivor Wiki, not me.
Yes, he technically voted him out, but did he really vote him out? Because Redemption Island isn't really leaving the game, so it's a bit.
Yeah.
I would debate that one.
You just did. Survivor fans
I mean,
stupid.
it's a technicality, but come on.
Just quickly, we talked about the whole jury vote removal thing. I mean, I think we've talked down pointless reward challenges in the final episode. This was pretty stupid, wasn't it? Let's have a random reward challenge, like to tease you that you think is going to be a final two.
Well, this is kind of where I wish it didn't get spoiled before. Because I would have loved like that big shock if I didn't know that this was coming.
I completely forgot. Can I just point out, I forgot, so I was shocked.
Oh, well, that's kind of good. But it was such a cock tease. Like, hey, Survivor fans, do you love Final Twos? Well, not this season, and not ever again. So, yeah, it was just... That whole finale was a bad episode, I think.
I agree. It was. Tai Trang, we're into the final three now. Gee, we've made a good time. He kind of was like touted as almost the second coming of Yao Man, like this huge big favourite, and he was going to be loved. I mean, clearly Sia loved him, but and that's all that matters in life, isn't it? But he was such a interesting player. He turned out to be a pretty bad player, I guess to say nicely. Got a lot of airtime, was a fun character, but in the grand scheme of things, you knew that he was never going to win this game. And, well, he didn't. He got third. And, yeah, what's your take on the soon-to-be-returning Tai Trang?
I like Tai. I feel like a lot of people are kind of a bit hipstery with him, like, oh, he's getting airtime, so we're going to hate on him. I don't think he was the big character that they were hoping he would be. Like, he would be the next Malcolm-type character or Philip or something like that. I think he was just kind of like... A lot of people were frustrated with him a lot of the time. The Mark the Chicken stuff got a bit overbearing, I thought. Like, it was funny to begin with. That's not all Ty's fault. I think the fan base here's me getting angry at the fans. Yeah. I thought like that was a bit over the top with every second comment of anyone talking was about about Mark. And then they even showed Mark Burnett on the reunion show acting like a chicken, which was something I never thought we would see Mark Burnett.
Sadly didn't ask him that in our interview. That we can't lay claim to that one. Like, Mark, would you ever act like a chicken in a reunion episode?
I never thought I'd see Mark Burnett doing the chicken dance, but in a reunion where Sia storms the stage and Drew Carey's there and Cochran makes an appearance, anything goes. So I should have expected Mark Burnett chicken dance. And then didn't it come out later that it was actually named after Ty's boyfriend or something, not actually Mark Burnett or something? I swear I read that.
Any excuse to get Mark Burnett in an episode. He hasn't been in an episode of Survivor in a long time.
It's been a while.
He's off too busy doing Ben-Hur and the Bible. So.
I know. We can have me and I'll do the chicken dance.
Oh, Mark, I think that's... Shut up, Jeff. I'm Mark Burnett. You will listen to me.
I'm the executive producer here, Jeff. Jeffrey. Now I'm off to make Ben-Hur. Charlie, where are you?
Yeah, I got to lay claim to him being a producer on Ben-Hur. After I interviewed him, he's like, fuck Ben-Hur, Ben-Hur. I'm going to make that movie.
Ben Waterworth, Ben-Hur.
Green Tribe.
I've done it.
Yes, anyway.
Green Buffs and Ben-Hur.
You're welcome, universe.
Chicken dance, and that would have been like the Holy Trinity. So you're 2 for 3. That's pretty good. But yeah, he was an awful player, but you have to sympathise with him at some points. And I tweeted when this was happening, like, who do I want to win? Ty. Who do I think will win? Aubrey. Who do I absolutely not want to win? Michelle. And I was rooting for him I thought that would have been a great, underdog story if Ty just pulled it through at the end. And he was there at the final trial. We're talking about rivers floating down things and all this proverbs and stuff like that, just nonsense that no one understood. But I have to say, I'm not excited to see him back, but he is one that I'm not disappointed is back. I think Ty will be fun on a returning player. He will never win, but I think he's a really unique and fun character. And he was much better when his edit was deflated a bit, not when, the early episodes where it was all Ty and none of the beauties. But in the middle, we didn't see as much as him, so it was a bit more bearable. But I like him. I know there's going to be some people, not Ty, he's popular, let's not like him. But he's alright.
I love the whole early season stuff with the living creatures when he cried over a tree or something like that, and then the next scene he's chopping down a tree and things like that. And I love.
Why am I on the beauty tribe?
The early. Why was he on the beauty? We went over that in the preview episode. Ben, don't bring that back up. But I mentioned before the Caleb stuff. I thought that was funny, and I think he's a great character, and I'm happy to see him back. But he was just a lot different, I think, than I was anticipating he would be, the way he played the game, at least. So, good old Ty. Do I have any random, he was this, that, and everything else on whatever? Oh, we went to Caleb and Ashley's wedding. Good for you, Ty.
Actually.
He's Caleb's wife, I'm guessing. Oh, here's a trivia. Thanks, Survivor Wiki. I didn't see the reunion show. I'm glad you're here to fill this in. Australian pop singer Sia personally gave Ty $50,000.
That's one of the top 10 worst moments in Survivor history.
I want to get to the reunion separately because I'm going to put it out there. It could be the second worst reunion in the history of Survivor. Yeah, there's nothing really interesting there. Good try, Survivor Wiki. All right, final two. The one that pretty much from a certain point on I thought was a guaranteed winner of this season. I think a lot of people did. And again, just didn't win, clearly, because we're going to talk about the winner in a second. Aubrey, runner-up. Yeah, I was shocked that she didn't win. I still am. I keep forgetting who won, and I'm looking at this picture. I'm like, she won. I mean, look, I wasn't a huge Aubrey fan. She kind of got on my nerves a little bit, and there was a large portion of like, Aubrey's going to win, great. But I would take that back in a heartbeat. I would rather Aubrey have won this season. I was going to piss a few people off by me saying that. Come on, I haven't been on this show in 6 months. You haven't been pissed off at my opinions in a while. But yeah, Aubrey not winning. Second place in Survivor Kaoh Rong. Your take on Aubrey?
Well, I remember people saying around episode 3 that, Aubrey's going to win. I'm like, what are you on? Like, she's getting no edit. And people are like, oh no, Aubrey's amazing. And I'm like, come on, don't be stupid. There's no way she can win. And then it got to the merge, and the early merge, I'm like, oh yeah, she's going soon. And she turned things around. She got a huge edit, and I agree. I thought, yep, winner's edit. Aubrey will win it. And yeah, it was a shock. It wasn't 100% a shock, but just the way that Final Tribal went and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought Aubrey was going to win too, and I think Jeff wanted Aubrey to win. He talked about how fans were disappointed with it and how there's nothing they can do about it and that. So I think he was kind of disappointed that Aubrey didn't win either. Yeah, I talked about how in the show I wasn't an Aubrey fan. I just thought she was too, like, she was always complaining about something. Nothing was ever right. Nothing was ever going right for her. And, oh, now this person's gone and I have to do this and I'm back to square one and I'm doing this. But she's nice. She's quirky and fun. She had some really good confessionals. I'll give her that for sure. Like some of her really long confessionals that were just all these analogies and comparisons and stuff like that. But I wasn't the big Aubrey fan that a lot of people were, and I wasn't rooting for her at the end. I was rooting for Sydney going into the finale, and then when she went, I was rooting for Ty. So I think she's definitely an overhyped player who I've kind of come to accept that she's going to be on the next season, and if I'm being 34, and if I'm being honest, she probably does deserve it, or she's earned it at least. Like, just because I'm not a fan of her doesn't mean I can't appreciate when someone has earned their spot on another season. Yeah, she did a lot of good stuff in the game. That being said, I can see why she lost. We talked about this in our finale Oztopsy. She did make a lot of mistakes in the game, and her game was far from flawless. Like, she only talked to the people in her alliance. She never talked to the other people. She did the thing like where she crossed the name out. She had the meltdown early on. She voted out her own alliance members like Debbie and stuff like that. Like all this kind of stuff. Like, well, the Joe thing was interesting because I thought that was good that she managed to have Joe with her so close, but the jury thought that was a bad thing. I'm not sure. So she did do a lot of not good things in the game. Like, yeah, maybe she did deserve to win, but it's not like it's like this massive robbed thing where, oh my God, Aubrey did everything right, Michelle did everything wrong. I think they both had good and bad things, and yeah, I think people were upset because Aubrey had the bigger edit and the bigger story, and they told Aubrey's story, not Michelle's. But if you really look at it, Aubrey did also have a lot of bad things going for her in the game.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I was aware that Aubrey had a bit of a fan following, and again, I was
It was massive.
I didn't get it either, and that's no disrespect to Aubrey. It was just there always is one every season that gets a huge cult fan base, and I'm always like, really? Why? And yeah, I just didn't get it. So, shocked that she didn't win, and would have preferred her to have won. Perhaps. It sounds so horrible. We're gonna get into trouble. Oh, Survivor Aussie's back with one of their recaps. Oh, they're still shit. Ben's back. Yeah, that's all right. Speaking of shit, Michelle, she won. There we go. There come the complaints. We love you, Michelle. Like, seriously, we've nothing against you. We're just still surprised that you won. Like, I have to tell this story. This sounds horrible. Just at the time of recording this, Hearts of Reality has just happened again in Celebration in Florida. And, several people that I know have gone there. They're putting up the photos. And there's this photo that's going around. It's like, here is the photo of all the winners. Here's the Millionaires Club. You've got Rob Mariano and Boston Rob. I don't know why I say Rob Mariano. Sandra's in there. Todd, Brian, Heideck's in there. All these sort of people. I've literally looked at this picture and gone, who's that woman on the end? I'm like, oh, fuck, Michelle. Right, okay. Like, I was thinking, like, is one of the Amazing Racers just accidentally gotten this photo? I don't know. But... like, and it's interesting actually looking here, just going over the confessionals. I didn't mention Aubrey's and Ty's. Ty got 74. He got the most this season. Aubrey 70. Michelle actually got 57. She actually got a fair amount of confessionals.
But how many of them were towards the end?
Well, 12 at the end.
Yeah,
and then
exactly. They were all in the last 2 or 3
She did have a double donut, so she got 2 zeros in a row, which that could make her the first maybe since Sandra to get 2 zeros, or did we have someone since Natalie, I think, might have gotten a double donut. But
Sophie, maybe.
Yeah, I just don't like. How did she win? Noah, I wasn't on these episodes. I didn't hear your discussion about this. I still don't know how she won. Please enlighten me. I'm like, as a
social game.
A social game. Okay, then. I mean, this is the part where everybody does rip into us for, oh, the winner is the winner, blah, blah, blah. They got the most votes, they're the most deserving. But, like, seriously, how did she win?
Well, that's what we talked about in our episodes is, this is where, and it's such a sticky situation. Bring back Baylor.
Bring back Baylor.
Because we complain when it's so obvious, when, of course Mike's going to win. Of course Tony's going to win. Of course Tyson's going to win. Of course Cochrane's going to win. Even to an extent, of course Natalie's going to win. Of course Kim's going to win. We complain about that, but then they did something different this time, and they told the second place's story, and now we don't know why Michelle won. So it's this hard thing where we complain when the winners are too obvious, and we complain when they're not obvious enough. It's this hard balance they have to find. But they really dropped the ball here because they told Aubrey's story. And I think that's the reason that people not even looking at gameplay were disappointed, because Aubrey was viewed as the underdog and that was her story, and they didn't show Michelle's story. So I don't think a lot of the people who were upset that Aubrey didn't win necessarily wasn't even about gameplay. It was about they were invested in Aubrey and they weren't invested in Michelle. She did some okay. Like, I don't think Michelle's a bad player. I don't think she's the best of the season, and I do think she's one of the worst winners, not the worst. But she made connections with people. She was everybody's friend, and that's kind of hard to make a story out of on TV, so I can understand why that was kind of swept under the rug a bit. She was good at challenges. She had the strategy, even though there's some tweets from me after that finale where I was very, very anti-Michelle, but I've kind of come around a bit. But like, I think at one point I said Michelle's biggest strategy is making herself be such a non-factor that no one even cares to vote her out. Then she's in the finale and she wins.
That's a strategy, people would argue.
Yeah, but I don't think that was a purposeful strategy. It was just she was such a non-factor that no one was even focusing on her. But she's not a bad player of Survivor. She did what she needed to do to get there. You have to give her props. That being said, I went on a massive rant and I was yelling and all in that finale Oztopsy. Poor Colin, I probably woke his baby up.
Hasn't slept since.
Where, and I kind of wish you were there, and we probably won't have time to get fully into this debate now, but I basically talked about how it's actually an opinion that the person who receives the most jury votes is automatically the best player. I don't think that's a fact. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people out there, a lot of stubborn people, and I'll admit I'm stubborn on this thing because I think you're wrong if you think it's a fact, so I'll admit I'm stubborn too, but there's a lot of people out there who say, she won the jury votes, she's the best, let's not talk about it, let's not debate it, let's not even have a discussion about why it happened. How dare you say anyone but the person who got the jury votes is the best? I think that's an opinion. I don't think it's a fact that if you get the jury votes, you're the best player. Because then people don't say the person who came second is the second best, the person who's the first boot is the worst player of the season. And there's just so many arguments against that, but people are very stubborn of, well, Michelle's the best. She got the jury votes. She completed the objective. And I think I used the example of the AFL teams. Is the AFL team that wins the premiership, are they automatically the best team of that season? Maybe, but what about the team that won the most games of the season and stuff like that? Like, there are so many factors to it. And I'm not saying Aubrey's necessarily better, but I'm just over that whole, and it's kind of become like a thing that everyone's accepted. I say, let's stop accepting it. Let's have a debate and a discussion rather than as just saying, oh, yep, they got the votes, they're the best. And that's the end of the discussion. What's the point in being on an online forum or a Facebook group or a podcast if you're not even going to discuss things? So I refuse to even talk to someone who's just going to say Michelle's the best because she got votes. Let's talk about why she got the votes or why the other person is not as good. So that was my rant from the finale Oztopsy. Is Aubrey better than Michelle? In some ways, but I can see why Michelle beat her if you really look at it. And I'm not a Michelle fan. I didn't think she was a dynamic character in any word, but at the same time, you do have to give her the props for some of the stuff that she did do in the game.
Very interesting analysis, Noah Groves. Apparently I'm Roger Moore now, but my thoughts on the whole, the person at the end gets the votes, they're automatically the best player. I mean, yeah, your AFL analogy, any sports really comes down to that. I think it was Super Bowl one year, NFL, I think the New England Patriots, from memory, went an entire season without losing a game, but they lost the Super Bowl. So, therefore, the New York Giants, are they automatically the best team that season because they won the Super Bowl? Whereas a team that went undefeated until the Super Bowl, maybe, I don't know, I don't really follow NFL that much, but whatever. But yeah, I really feel bad ripping into Michelle. Why did she win when I haven't rewatched it? This is kind of, back in the early days of, Natalie's the worst winner, Russell should have won, and, on rewatching a season, you can focus on the winner and go, okay, well, I can see why they won. There's still only the one season to me that still is a question mark, and hello, Sophie in South Pacific, but we're not getting into that debate again. And perhaps on a rewatch, this will change again, so I hope it does. And Michelle, you won Survivor, I haven't, so...
I'm still not a big fan, though. As a character, I just didn't find much there. Like you said, she got all those confessionals, but most of them were at the end when there was no one else left.
Post-Survivor, it says here, she intends to use her winning to finish off her car. That's good. Just buy a new one, probably, Michelle. Just putting it out there. And afterwards, she intends to celebrate her victory with her family and friends. Cool. I would celebrate with strangers personally, but whatever floats.
I do think it was an important, that was a crazy few days after Michelle won in the Survivor fan base. And I do think it was an important thing to happen eventually, because we got so caught up in this whole, Mike got the big edit, we all saw it coming, he won. Ditto that times all the different people, Tyson, Cochran, Tony, Kim. And I do think this was a shock and something that mixed things up and created some debate. So I think it was an important and a good thing ultimately that happened, that we broke away from this, Jeremy, yep, he played a good game, he got the edit, all the stuff. It was definitely an interesting time.
Well, she's the third person from New Jersey to win in the last 5 seasons.
Tony and Natalie.
Oh, good guess. Well done, Noah Groves. Yeah, that's about the most interesting trivia bit I can say here with her. If the all winners season in the future, I mean, eliminating a lot of the winners that have already returned. I mean, Michelle, I honestly would say probably would be a good chance of winning for a second time.
In some ways, I would agree with you. In the other ways, I feel like she'll get absolutely squashed by some of these actual... Well, I'm not going to say actual winners, but by some of these really good winners that she could turn out more like Monica Padilla. But I could see it, and I do think she's a lock if they ever did do an all-winners season.
Yeah, definitely. But, yeah, I definitely feel she could win, for sure.
I feel like production were not happy that Michelle
Well, this is what we talked about, wasn't it? Who had this conversation? Was it on the show or off air or something like that, where basically it was... I think it might have been with Kate, perhaps. I had this conversation with her, as in our Ozlet, not Jen Brown's favourite player. And basically this season wasn't talked up that much or sort of, really hyped by Probst because there was kind of like the... and this is... I'm not being mean to Michelle, like the boring female that Jeff Probst doesn't generally like. And I guess this kind of backs up that point. So, yeah.
Well, he compared Aubrey to Cochrane at one point, so I think he definitely wanted Aubrey to win.
That's a good point, actually. So there we go. That's all 18 of them. They're done and dusted. Just Noah's favourite bit, the trivia of the season. But I can say, Noah, there's only 5 bits of trivia for this season, so we're not going to be here for as long as we were for some of these other ones. The art design of this season's buffs and flags appears to be inspired by the sakyant, a traditional Southeast Asian style of tattooing deity or animals designed accompanied by Pali phrases said to offer good luck or fortune. Noah's favourite trivia each season, the font used for this season is...
the font used on Michelle's dress
is Kaoh.
Comic Sans.
This is the 3rd season in which the starting tribe colours are blue, red and yellow, and the merged tribe colour is blacks, following Philippines and worlds apart. Well, this is, I guess, a fascinating trivia bit. This is the season features the most medical evacuations with 3. And this is the first season with an equal number of reward and immunity challenges. There you go. Noah, you used to give us quotes from this season. How's your... Not happening? All right, good.
I found an idol.
I was going to say the lemon tree. I'm like, this isn't Fiji.
Well, I don't know. What were good quotes? I liked
the Tribe
Scott's
Spoken,
confessional, where he talked about... and it was after Peter got voted out. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to cross her name out and I'm going to write down Aubrey and write down Joe and all that. That was a fun one. But yeah, I don't know. I liked when Jason said he was the best bounty hunter in Southeast Michigan. Like very specific.
It's probably a very competitive field there in Southeast Michigan. Like, you don't know that, Noah.
What else? Was there any other good ones? I can't remember. I liked Neil when... what did he say to Michelle when he got voted out from the jury? Said something.
You a bitch.
I think he did call her a bitch, actually. And he talked about, like, you have no chance of winning or something, which, well, how did that turn out? But yeah, I should have prepared quotes.
You should have. Poor effort, Noah Groves.
We had a pre-production meeting.
Yes, exactly. So just quickly going over this. So pre-season questions. I like these. These are fun to go back over. So it's only you, myself, and Paul. It's kind of full circle. There was only 3 of us in the preview. There's only 2 of us here. I said Anna would win. You said Peter would win. Paul said Liz. We did very well. Who would be the first boot? Wow, this is even better. I said Joe. You said Joe. Paul said Aubrey. Who will be this season's GOAT? Ty was the GOAT, obviously. We can all, I think, agree with that, can't we? I said Liz. Noah said Darnell. And Paul gets even worse. He said Darnell/Michelle. So he went for the first boot and the winner. So none of us get that right. This season's no vote getter. Well, it was Ty, wasn't it, obviously? I said Liz. You said none. Ooh, controversial. And Paul said Darnell. Where did he put Darnell? He had Darnell at...
he was the
3rd. Jesus Christ, Paul. Which contestant do you think is most likely to return? Well, we've got 3 returnees? 4.
4.
Caleb, Aubrey,
Ty,
Aubrey,
and Debbie.
Debbie. Spoiler alert if you can. Well, I said Anna. Sadly not happening. Paul said Darnell. Definitely not happening unless you're on the fan train. You're
on the campaign.
You're technically 25% right, Noah. You put Debbie. There you go. Which tribe will lose the most members pre-merge? So that would be... It was a tie.
Tang.
Well, Toe Tang pre-switch. Gondal in total, if you can count this. We'll just say Toe Tang. So I said Gondal. You said Chandlo. Paul said... We said everyone except for Toe Tang. Now, I can't remember this one. Who was the first former player mentioned in this season?
I feel like I did know at one point, but...
Yeah, we can't remember. I said Dan. You said Mike Holloway or Linda Spencer. And Paul said Joe Anglam. So,
who was it?
Yeah, fuck, I don't know. Who will get the most confessionals, a.k.a. the Russell edit? Well, that distinction went to Ty. I said Nick. Well, he got a few. You said Kyle, aka Jason.
Decent pick.
And Paul also said Nick. Who will get the least confessionals? Well, we're going to say Julia got the Purple Kelly edit.
That's the Purple Kelly.
I said Julia, so I get it right. You said Michelle, not bad. And Paul said Alicia. So there you go. What colour will the merged tribe? It was black. I was the only sensible one and said green. Paul said clear. You said Hello Kitty Aqua.
Well, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Who will be the first to find an idol? Was it Ty?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I said Nick, you said Jen, and Paul said Darnell. Paul loves his Darnell. He's the fan. He's the person behind this campaign. Bring back Darnell. Who will receive the most votes against him? Well, I actually just read that stat. It was Aubrey and Alicia were tied for most votes against him this season. I said Nick. Paul said Nick. You said Scott. None of us are right. Who will be Propes' favourite? Who was Propes' favourite? Who would you say? Aubrey?
Aubrey/Ty, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, none of us got it right. I said Nick. You and Paul said Peter. Who'll be
Not Peter.
Who'll be Prope's least favourite? Would it have been Michelle? I mean, I didn't really like Alicia by the looks of things. Although I guess on Twitter,
Michelle,
Julia.
Yeah, I would say. But I don't think he hated Michelle. I just don't think he wanted her to win. But I guess we'd say Michelle.
Go with Michelle. You said Sydney. I said Alicia. Paul said Aubrey. Will there be a quitter? Well, we didn't have one. So I was correct. I said none. You said Alicia would quit, and Paul said Sydney. Showmance? We didn't really have one, did we?
No.
Scott and Jason?
No, it was
Ty and
Caleb.
Okay, yeah, good point. I said Joe and Julia.
Oh, I wish.
Granddaddy issues. You said Debbie and Jason.
Oh, come on, that would have been nice.
And Paul went with Debbie and Joe. Oh, Joe and Debbie getting a lot of love there.
Well, that was kind of one a bit, Debbie and Joe.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Give it to Paul.
Which tribe would be dissolved? Well, it turned out to be Toe Tang. I said Gondal. You said Chandlo. Paul said Chandlo. Again, no one gives a shit about Toe Tang. Which contestant will be first referred to by their surname? Did we get anybody referred? We didn't get a Hamilton, a Lanzetti, a Reynolds. We didn't get anyone, I don't think.
Well, Jason.
Oh, well, fucking Ben. Ding, ding, ding.
Straight off the bat.
Ben's doing well again. I put Peter. Baggenstoss.
Baggenstoss.
You and Paul both said Scott. And how many Medivacs will there be? I said 4. You said 3. You're correct. And Paul said 2. So there you go.
Did we pick who they would be? Or
no, we just said how many. That's the last of those questions. I'm not going over all our predictions. Just Rossi's, everyone was Caleb. So, Rossi, you're a weird boy. What else do we have here? I've gone over confessionals, rankings from Oscars. Well, we can't do that. We haven't done the Oscars this year. Sorry, folks. So we wrap it up with our questions. This is great, Noah. We're not even at 2 hours yet. This is like, wow, go us. Best player all season.
Sydney.
Sydney? I am going to say Aubrey.
Controversial. No, Michelle.
No, yeah, sorry, Michelle. How much she won? Most underrated player all season. I would say Sydney in that one.
Let me say Ty. I think he did some good things, even though he was useless in a lot of other things.
Worst player of the season.
Oh, Alicia.
Yeah, we'll go Alicia. Best challenge. Oh God, I'm going to fail remembering. They're all the same.
One where they had to balance.
Yeah. The one that Joe came back from and won.
Oh yeah, I would probably say that too. But there was the one early on. Remember they had to like run through like a lake type thing to get to the ocean and then throw targets. And Debbie was like a cheerleader.
Yep.
Oh, I know, the one with the medivac.
Yeah, duh, good one. Yep.
Well, that wasn't really at the challenge. No, I don't.
We can count it. It was, the only memorable one of the season. Here's an interesting one. Biggest moment, the key moment that decided the game. I might put out there when Neil was medevaced.
When the jury voted for Michelle. What was the key? Because this season was, I wouldn't say it was unpredictable. Well, it was unpredictable, but it was a bit all over the shop. I'm going to say, depends on how far you zoom out, but I'll say Joe getting medivac, because if Joe's not medivac, Michelle doesn't win the game. You could probably go back further and look to something pre-merge or something, but I think that's one thing that really did solidify Michelle's win over someone else.
So I guess on that aspect, the next question, which is very similar, biggest what-if moment. So would that be what if Joe wasn't medevaced from the game?
What if Joe only had 4 bits of steak?
What if Debbie had more jobs than she already told people?
Yeah, maybe just in general, or if you went all the way back, what if Caleb...
True.
Actually, that's kind of dumb, because Totang probably would have lost and Alicia would have went, and then, so, yeah, just all the medivacs, because that was the big theme of this season. So what if there weren't the medivacs?
And all the medivacs. What was the worst moment of the season? Michelle winning? No, don't say that.
Maybe that dumb jury thing's up there. It was also kind of dumb. Well, the fan base more than anything was when they said that Peter should have helped Caleb out. That was kind of dumb. Yeah, I think maybe just that twist thing, because it was just took up time. Oh, Sia. That's no question. Sia. That was the worst moment in Survivor history.
Got to point out, I said I'd talk a little bit separately. I didn't. Whatever. Yeah, probably up there with Caramoan as the worst reunion ever. I mean, they're literally now like 29 minutes. Like, they don't even give a shit about them anymore.
That Sia thing was just...
I didn't get it. Somebody shouting in the crowd. I was like, I thought there was just an irate fan, and Probst was like, oh, what the hell's going on here? But it was like, Jeff! And it's freaking Sia! Like, I like Sia's music. It's decent, but like, why do we need to see Sia on the stage?
You don't want to see my Twitter during that. I was live tweeting, and that was the worst moment in Survivor history. That was so bad.
I will say, though, it did fulfill a lifelong fantasy of mine to see what would happen if Sia and Drew Carey were ever on the same episode of a TV show.
Oh, it's just celebrities who think they can interrupt anything they want with no consequences and do whatever they... It's not about you, Sia. It's about these 18 people that are not millionaire pop stars. And you said you were going to give money to Keith, so...
Didn't Keith tweet
follow
Sia?
Through.
Keith like, oh, Sia, you can still give me that money.
It was pretty... He sent her a video, so... Sia, thanks for the shout-out. If you want to come and hang out at Louisiana...
I just wanted to see... I just need to see Keith singing just Chandelier or something like that. I want to swing from the chandelier. That's not how he would sound.
But she loved Ty because of how nice he was to animals. I think... I don't know.
She hated Mark Scoopin.
Wasn't Keith shooting animals when you were having his
I'm just out shooting deer.
Don't let Sia hear that one.
the worst moment of the season? Well, we just answered it.
See ya.
See ya.
Hands down. Unquestionably.
The sexiest contestant. We always put this as a side note. Male and female. We need to cover both. I'm going to say Anna and Joe.
Joe?
Well, he's a silver fox. He's,
He is ripped.
Yeah, he's more ripped than I am. Oh, no. Nick's probably the sexiest, if we've got to be serious. Him or Peter. Or Caleb, I guess, if you're into that.
It is an attractive cast, just thinking about it. Like, I'm going down the list, like Liz, Alicia, Anna, like Julia, Michelle, Sydney. Like, it's an attractive cast. Debbie. I might say, I don't know, Liz or Anna.
Anna.
I'll go with you on the Anna, I think. And it has to be my boy Peter Beckenstock.
My boy. I think I've ever heard you
Obama.
quite say that before. All right. Biggest what the beep moment. I think that's Sia as well, isn't it? Like, or is it just or is it Debbie's jobs?
Debbie had a few what the beep moments. Like, and I would also put when Scott and Jason bought out all the stuff at the fire and the camp. And like, what the hell are they doing? But yeah, Sia, what the fuck?
Special mention to Jeff Probst, and we'll have a special person returning to Tribal Council, and it's fucking Mark the Chicken. That was a bit random.
Yeah, Mark the Chicken, what the fuck?
Now, obviously, we're going to exclude from this one the 4 that are returning. So, player you would like to see return that hasn't returned. And yes, we will not include the 4 that obviously will be returning. So, who would you like to see? Is this, I guess, obvious?
Yeah, my boy Peter.
My boy.
Obama. But in a more realistic one, it would be Sydney. But I would be so happy to see Peter.
I'm honestly going to say Anna or Nick. Still on the train. I would see Nick come back. I think.
Boo!
Boo! He's the Philadelphia Fisher this season. No, I think that. No, I'd like to see Nick come back. I think he's great. So shut up.
Philadelphia Fish. Out of the final 3, what McDonald's hamburgers would they be?
That's a new question.
Come on, we've got to do at least something fun in this Ozcap.
All right, Michelle would be the junior burger, or just I think it's called a hamburger now.
What's a junior burger?
When I was growing up, just the hamburger with no, like the cheeseburger with no cheese, used to be called the junior burger. I don't know if anyone remembers that. So,
the hamburger.
Cheese, I mean, because no one wants a burger without cheese. You want the cheeseburger, like as if you want the hamburger. You need cheese on it. So, Aubrey would be the McChicken. It looks
that's a good one.
A bit plain, but it's surprisingly tasty.
She's a decent one, but it's not something that everyone gets.
And Tai Trang would be the Angus
McSalad.
The McSalad. He'd be the Angus because it's big and meaty and fulfilling, but slightly disappointing when you go to the bathroom later. I don't know.
Isn't that Joe?
Anna's chicken nuggets because they're fucking awesome all the time.
Anna is chicken nuggets.
Absolutely. And Nick is the cheeseburger because I just want him all the time as well. So
Nick's the Big Mac, isn't it?
He was a Philadelphia Fish. We just discovered that, but to me he's the cheeseburger.
I think Scott's the Big Mac.
No, Darnell is either the McRib or the McOz. They're the ones that always are not there for that long, but people always want them back. So
the McRib.
All right, we're going to stop. Stop right now. Thank you very much. The legacy of this season. What is the legacy of Survivor Kaoh Rong?
See ya. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. What is the legacy of this season? The most returnees on season 34?
Anybody?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what the legacy is.
I reckon maybe, like the don't trust the edit like you probably should because the winner's obvious
type thing. Yeah, that's a good one.
Maybe. Don't know. Yeah. doesn't have one.
That being said, I do hope that even editing does continue into the next season.
That's a good point. And kind of going back to when you said about, like, I think we kind of talked up, didn't we, that this didn't really have the smartest players overall compared to some seasons. So, yeah. No.
Well, I got in trouble when I said that.
No, it's only the fans you love. That's it. Survivor Kaoh Rong. Done. Bye-bye. See ya. Wouldn't want to... You just said that joke. Whatever. It's not funny, Ben. Back to recycling the jokes again. Download 007. But yeah, it's good to be back. I'm glad to be back here, Noah, and it's good to get an Ozcap done. Our shortest Ozcap in a very bloody long time. So good to see we can still do these in a fairly shortish amount of time.
Yeah, I apologise if it was a bit dry. It was very to the point. So for people who love it when we talk about Garfield and that, maybe not this one, but...
we compared people to McDonald's burgers. You weren't expecting that when you first started listening to this.
Yeah, you didn't see that one coming. And yeah, you can listen back to the Oztopsies, which Ben were not a part of, but if you want to hear me raging a bit more at different things, I really don't dislike this season. I will rewatch it sometime, probably before Worlds Apart, maybe before Cambodia.
It's not Cambodia, which you hated.
I hate Cambodia, apparently. But yeah, listen to the Ozcaps for more Oztopsies and hear more about mac and cheese every week. You really missed a lot.
Sounds like it.
So, yeah, please don't go on Twitter and start saying I hate this season again, even if I sounded grumpy, because I don't want a repeat of Cambodia where everyone said I hated it just because I said one criticism about it. But I think it introduced some decent characters, it had some decent moments, and it's going to be one that I'm going to look back on, not fondly, but not one. Like, it would be interesting to do the Oscar rankings to see where it would end up. I would say, just off the top of my head, maybe 16th, 17th. Like, there's definitely a lot of worse seasons in there.
Yeah, I'd probably put it around there. I haven't really honestly thought about it, to be honest, but that sounds about right, possibly. So... yeah, well, it's been fun covering this season. Oof, I'm spent from all the work I've done this season. Oh, God, it's been tough. But, yes, we'll speak to...
Gilfs versus Gilfs, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I haven't even said anything about that. I think it's whatever. But bring on Millennials versus Gen X. Aren't we thrilled for that? But, no, it's going to be Survivor. We're always happy for it. Like pizza. So, yeah, SurvivorOz.com is our website. iTunes, that's where you download us from, or other places. Twitter, follow us, like us on Facebook, all that stuff. If you're listening to this, Australian Survivor, of course, we're covering that. It's great. If you're not in Australia, then watch it anyway, because the new one doesn't start for a bit, so you can do that. So, cool. And, yeah, Noah, I just said thank you, so I don't need to say anything more to you. We will be back for another episode.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Noah. You're welcome.
I'm talking to the idiot listeners that I hate.
To all our listeners, I love you.
I'm Joe. Yeah, it's not the people who listen to Survivor Oz, it's every single person who doesn't.
Exactly.
I love you all.
You're all idiots who don't listen to it. You'll never hear this. So
we're all idiots.
Yes. But until next time, thank you for tuning to Survivor Oz. Tribe spoken, and we will speak to you next time on The Trains.